Hey guys, it's Greg, and we're back again with another one of my custom figure reviews. This time, an Undead Lich Priest from the Warhammer universe. Now, I'm a big sucker for fantasy, and I love the Warhammer universe. And I used to play the tabletop games a little bit, but what really got to me was the art and all the codices and the rule books, and that was really the main draw, just seeing like the new designs for everything. The miniatures themselves are always fun to work on and paint, but knowing that that just so much detail could go into, you know, a design for a certain figure. So I've always followed the artist and the artwork, and when I saw a picture of this guy, it just did something inside, and I love like the concept of just a walking plate armored corpse that wields dark magic. And a little side tangent here for how I choose to make a figure if it's not a commission, what I do for myself. If I see a character that looks really visually interesting to me, the first thing I always ask myself is, would that be a cool action figure? Would that make a cool action figure? And then the second thing, since I make these myself, is how would I make that into an action figure? You know, how would I translate this design, a 2D design usually, into 3D? You know, how to fabricate. And specifically in this guy's case, it's like the armor, those big shoulder pauldrons, the horns, stuff like that. So when I saw a picture of this, I thought, you know, well, that looks like it could be a cool action figure, so I just went from there. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Alright, let me just start by saying I do like the 40k universe more than the fantasy universe. And if you people know anything about Warhammer, or even if you don't, the 40k universe is sci-fi, and the fantasy is just what it sounds like, medieval kind of stuff. But again, I saw this image and I had to make this guy. So this will be the start of some Warhammer figures, and I'll go back and forth between fantasy and sci-fi. So this guy is part of, and I'm going to nerd out here for the other Warhammer fans, this guy is part of the Vampire Count's army, and the bulk of their forces are made up of skeletons and undead warriors and zombies, like foot soldiers, and then above them are these guys, like undead sorcerers who can control the foot soldiers, and then up above them are the actual vampires themselves. So this guy's kind of in the middle. Okay, so let's get back to this guy. Whenever I'm working on a specific character, I like to have reference material. And especially with the Warhammer universe, and it's so extensive, usually the artists themselves will go all out, so I just usually need to look at what they do and just kind of go off of that, and just kind of figure out the colors if the images are in black and white. But so this was a case of just looking at what the other artists did and kind of translating it into 3D, and I know that I can just go. Again, I can go all out because these are personal projects for me, so I can just put all the time I want into such small details, and that's what the Warhammer characters are all about, just the detail work. So like with this guy, he's got kind of a medieval gothic vibe, and you can even see some of the spikes and stuff are evocative of the Vampire Counts. Not as many bat wings and themes like that, so he could fit in almost anywhere on a medieval battlefield. But let's take a look at articulation and how he can move. Alright, so underneath all of this is a Marvel Legends Iron Spider-Man figure, and he's all dremeled down to get that skeletal look, and then just built up with fabric mostly from the waist down, and then just all that sculpting up there. So just to give you an idea of the kind of joints underneath here. So let me just get this stuff out of his hands. Okay, so let's take a look from the waist up. Even though he has kind of some armor going on around his neck, his head can go up and down and side to side. And the pauldrons have a strip of leather that go from right here underneath, so they actually move up and down and can track with his arm, so he still gets some range. And I figured out that's a good way to do most shoulder pads because they're a pain in the ass. So he's still got some good motion in his shoulders, both sides. I got rid of the ab crunch and the waist swivel just to make sure all that was clean right there. That was important. So sometimes I'll sacrifice articulation, especially if it's like a personal project and I know that I may not care, because he's just going to be in like a couple static poses. So there's still the upper bicep swivel on both arms and the elbows. Okay, and then underneath the cloth right here, he still has those terrible 45-degree hips, but they can go out and swivel around, and he still has double jointed knees. And under his foot wraps, I made sure to keep the articulation as much as I could, and the ankle swivels, so it was worked out. Alright. So let's take a look at some close-up shots here so I can point out some of the details going on. Okay, so his head has been fully sculpted, and those top horns going up were cut from styrene, which is like a plastic, and then sculpted over. And those circular like ram's horns were, I used some wire armature and then I sculpted over them for that curved shape. And then some of the pieces of armor, like these neck pieces right here, are just layered, and they're more of that styrene plastic. Just so, because sculpting something like that thin to look like metal and going straight up would just not been worth it. But there's some sculpting going on right here and most of this chest. And then once again for the pauldrons, it's styrene sculpted over with these the rivets and the other designs here. And for most of these details, I was going off the art as much as I could, and then I also took some artistic liberties and design liberties from what I know about like the race, the vampire counts race, and their little miniatures. So I looked at those for like the color scheme and stuff. So here you got this like rib pattern, tiny skull, and this kind of like belt going on with these little studs in there, and then a bigger skull, so those were fun to sculpt. And hanging down from all of that is his spell book, and that was just a lot of fun to make. So I used styrene for the base on this, and then like all the pages and the binding and everything was just sculpted. And there's some bits of leather and fabric and like twine, just to give it all some realistic scaling. And that moves up and down, so it's actually hanging there. And from his legs are mostly just fabric. He has pants and like these feet wraps that go all the way down, kind of like boots, and this tabard right here. And he has his cloak and sleeves, and I wanted them to kind of billow. So I think those turned out pretty good. Alright guys, there he is, an Undead Lich Priest from the Warhammer Fantasy Universe. And I've been waiting just such a long time to get to some personal projects of mine, and I really just want to make a buttload of Warhammer characters from both universes, sci-fi and fantasy. So if you plan on asking me for a commission, or you want to drop me a line through my email or my Facebook, keep that in mind, and I would love to take on some commissions that deal with Warhammer and make some more Warhammer characters. So thanks for watching.